Welcome, I'm Darren, and I'll be your guide today as I look at kind of an interesting topic, which is checklists within insert sets. Not insert sets made up of checklists, but this is a case where there are two cards I just had to talk about, and I realized that there was a whole video here that is an unusual topic due to the fact that normally checklists are in a card set, or they are separated out separately, like I said, in their own insert set. But what about a case where you have an insert set, one of the cards is a checklist? That's a bit tricky to work with because if you open a couple of packs and you only get one insert and it happens to be a checklist, that's a bummer. So if you're going to do that, you want to make a checklist that's interesting. And I mean, Upper Deck did that right off the bat in 1990 when they did their first insert set with the Reggie Jackson Baseball Heroes set, where they actually made the checklist card arguably the coolest card of the whole set. And they would do that for years. That's the idea. I'm not interested in checklists that are part of a set that happen to talk about inserts, and not that. And again, not cases where there's an insert set full of just checklists. This is just a case where you have a set and one of the cards is an insert set. Is it interesting? That's the question. And really, at the end of the day, all of the ones on this list are interesting. Now, I identified 5, 6, 7 of them to talk about. And the reason it's kind of fuzzy is because, well, we'll see when we get to them. There are at least 5 that are rock solid, but at the end of the day, I think that it counts to talk about 7, which means we have a ranking of the top 5, and then we have 2 honorable mentions. The first honorable mention is Collector's Edge Boss Squad. And the Boss Squad cards aren't the greatest cards in the world. The checklist certainly isn't the greatest checklist in the world, but I will say that the Boss Squad cards were common enough in packs that if you ran into this card, it wouldn't be that big of a deal because you probably got a couple others as well. But I have to say, if you're just looking at checklists, this is a see-through checklist. That's pretty cool. You don't see those very often. So it has its own cool quality to it, but at the end of the day, there's a reason it's not top 5, and that's pretty obvious, which is that there's nothing really endearing about it. It's just an interesting checklist in a not all that interesting card set. The second one, the other of the honorable mentions is the one that is the longest of a stretch here, which is in 93-94 for hockey. Don Russ made an insert set in their update set that was looking at the World Junior Championship, which is the US team and the Canadian team. And they had a checklist in that set that was chromed on the front and then normal on the back. And you have Team Canada, a picture of them on the front, Team USA on the back. Now, technically, I could say this is a 94 set because it was released in the beginning of 1994, but that's too much of a stretch. I'm not interested in that. But this same model was done in 1994 for Classic with, Classic's not pro cards, but it's kind of the same where they did a card set looking at the women's hockey teams. And this allowed us to have, it's almost identical. The cards are chromed on the front, they're normal on the back. You have the regular cards in the set that are all done that way. And then you also have a checklist that's chromed on the front, not on the back. And in this case, the whole checklist is on the back because the front is just a shot of 3 members of the team, which includes Manuel Rhéaume. And basically you get two takes on the same concept, which both have kind of a cool quality to it. Not a great looking card. I think that the Boss Squad cards look better than these, but these have a different quality that's kind of interesting. And I wanted to throw both of these on here to say they're close, not quite, but I like the fact that there are 2 different takes on the same idea. So that brings us to the top 5. Now, number 5 is the other one that's really kind of funky, which is Topps Black Gold. And, Topps Black Gold, most of the cards were not inserts, they were sendaways. The insert card was, it's actually a card that features images of all of the cards in that section of the set. When you redeem the card, the set that you got back featured this same card, but done with an actual checklist on the back. So it's images on the front, checklist on the back. That's not an insert, so that's not what I'm counting, but I am going to go ahead and show it to you here anyway. But even the redemption cards, the send away cards, they did have all the names down at the bottom. But here's the thing. It's not very common that you have a checklist that shows you the images of the cards. That's what I like about these Topps Black Gold cards. In fact, the only black gold cards I like are these cards that were in the packs. It's really cool just seeing the whole array of all the images. So this is a card that I have here simply because while it's not technically a checklist, to me it's a great opportunity that kind of works like a checklist, and I give them full credit for that. And it also gives me the reason to say something positive about Topps Black Gold, where there's not a lot really positive to talk about with it. So here we go. At number 4, we're now coming to Upper Deck. And with this set, this is the heritage of the Reggie Jackson card, where in 1994, their Baseball Heroes set was Mickey Mantle. Now, the Mickey Mantle cards have a pinstripe theme for the famous New York Yankee, which has a really nice classic look. The cards are chromed on the front, which kind of works here because of the vibrance of the way these cards look. But the checklist card for it is a whole different approach to an art card than we'd seen from Upper Deck. This is very similar to what they did over at Ted Williams. I like the Ted Williams checklists better than these, but that would be a whole nother topic to discuss, and I'm not going to do that at this point. But this card has that same kind of art, which looks really great, and I don't mind the chromed surface. It would have been nicer to have a canvas surface, which is what we saw with Ted Williams, but with just the way that it looks, it's very special. It looks really cool, and yeah, I think it's pretty good. Certainly not top 3, but it's certainly really good. At number 3, I'm staying with Upper Deck, but going over to football to their Pro Bowl cards. Now, the Pro Bowl cards for 1993 are great. They're basically HoloView cards. They have a hologram in it. They have a holofoil finish on the front, and there's a quality to the way that the card looks that almost looks like a really nice finest card. I'm not quite sure what that quality is, but it looks really cool. The checklist card is not quite it doesn't have the same complexity to it, no hologram. It's just a picture of Hawaii. It's a bay, you have a hotel, a mountain, you have some rowers rowing in the foreground, and I mean, it's a great image. But the way that holofoil finish on it looks is really fascinating. And it's a card that, while not having a great wow factor, is a really fascinating card to explore. And this is one of those checklists that is a checklist you're not going to find another checklist like this. It's really interesting, and I really love that they did it. But like I said, there are 2 cards that are the reason I did this checklist, and these are the 2 that are coming up. And at number 2, we have Diamond Kings, where the Diamond Kings cards, what Dick Perez was painting in 1994 was very loose and exciting and very colorful, very, very colorful. And they designed the card really well to go with it, with that whole ruby prism text for Diamond Kings at the top. I like the way that all of that stuff works. There's a vibrance to it. It's not the best art in the world, but it's a very energetic and fun type of art. But they also did something really special here, where the checklist card is a portrait of Dick Perez. So this self-portrait uses the same artistic approach and the same rich colors. Looks absolutely fantastic. But it also gives us a great treat of having a self-portrait of somebody outside of sports featured here. And considering that baseball collectors had been enjoying Dick Perez's work for almost a decade and a half at this point, it just added a whole nother level of cool to this card. I think it's great. But there's no question what the number 1 card is, which is back to Upper Deck with their Heroes cards, but Basketball Heroes. The Michael Jordan card set for this is one of the great Upper Deck cards of all time. I mean, all the cards in the set look amazing, and that header card is incredible. But then, out of nowhere, you get this art card, this checklist card, and it is so amazing. I mean, it's not the greatest work of art in the world, but it has such a rich quality to how how fascinating it looks, and especially since they actually did jumbo cards of these as well, which makes it even better. This is one of my favorite cards of all time. This checklist. I love the cards in the set. I love that header, but this checklist card is just so cool. And frankly, I've been spending the last couple hours trying to figure out what I would even say about it. I don't think there's anything that needs to be said or could be said. It speaks for itself. Absolutely amazing. And that's it. That is my list of the top, well, that is my ranking of all of the insert set checklist cards for 1994, or the checklist cards in insert sets for 1994. Yeah, so let me know in the comments below if you agree with me on this, and definitely look out for when I do my my poll coming up tomorrow. And subscribe if you haven't done so already. And thank you very much for watching.